brought to you by Charity Mobile, the phone company that supports life and family. 5% of your monthly plan price goes to your favorite charity. Buy the way you believe at CharityMobile.com and use promo code TRADITION.
If there's one thing Catholics don't like today, at least on our side of things, it's the concept of censorship. And yet here we are in a period of church history where there is heresy openly tolerated by the hierarchy, often promoted by members of the hierarchy, including, quite frankly, the very top of the hierarchy, while voices of orthodoxy are the ones who are, in fact, the ones getting censored. We got to a place like this because prescriptions that were given by Pope St. Pius X in Pascendi Dominici Gregis, his document outlining the heresy of the Modernists and how to combat them, were never actually implemented with the full vim and vigor they should have been. And today, we're going to get to that uncomfortable topic of censorship. Pius X explicitly said that those who promote modernism should be censored. And to a degree, this definitely happened. But not to the full degree it should have. Nor were the proponents of modernism that were discovered, with the full power of the bishops behind the Vatican, ever really fully punished. Some were obviously excommunicated. There are certainly some high-profile examples of that. But as time went on, after Pius X was gone, the push to get rid of the modernists from the hierarchy definitely took a backseat to other concerns. World War I being one of those, and then later, the Second World War. Even though the popes themselves would continue to write against the modernists. So today, Pius X, on censorship to defend the faith. It is the duty of the bishops to prevent writings infected with modernism or favorable to it from being read when they have been published, and to hinder their publication when they have not. No book or paper or periodical of this kind must ever be permitted to seminarists or university students. The injury to them would be equal to that caused by immoral reading. Nay, it would be greater for such writings poison Christian life at its very fount. The same decision is to be taken concerning the writings of some Catholics, who, though not badly disposed themselves, but ill instructed in theological studies and imbued with modern philosophy, strive to make this harmonize with the faith, and, as they say, to turn it to the account of the faith. The name and reputation of these authors cause them to be read without suspicion, and they are therefore all the more dangerous in preparing the way for modernism. To give you some more general directions, venerable brethren, in a matter of such moment, we bid you do everything in your power to drive out of your dioceses, even by solemn interdict, any pernicious books that might be in circulation there. The Holy See neglects no means to put down writings of this kind, but the number of them has now grown to such an extent that it is impossible to censure them all. Hence it happens that the medicine sometimes arrives too late, for the disease has taken root during the delay. We will therefore that the bishops, putting aside all fear and prudence of the flesh, despising the outcries of the wicked, gently by all means but constantly do each his own share of this work, remembering the injunctions of Leo XIII and the Apostolic Constitution, officiorum, let the ordinaries acting in this also as delegates of the Apostolic See, exert themselves to prescribe put out of reach of the faithful injurious books or other writings printed or circulated in their dioceses. In this passage, the bishops, it is true, receive a right, but they also have a duty to impose on them. Let no bishop think that he fulfills this duty by denouncing to us one or two books, while a great many others of the same kind are being published and circulated. Nor are you to be deterred by the fact that a book has obtained the imprimatur elsewhere, both because this may be merely simulated, and because it may have been granted through carelessness or easiness or excessive confidence in the author, as may sometimes happen in religious orders. Besides, just as the same food does not agree equally with everybody, it may happen that a book harmless in one may, on account of the different circumstances, be harmful in another. Should a bishop, therefore, after having taken the advice of prudent persons, deem it right to condemn any of such books in his diocese, we not only give him an ample faculty to do so, but we impose it upon him as duty to do so. Of course, it is our wish that in such action proper regard be used, and sometimes it will suffice to restrict the prohibition to the clergy. But even in such cases, it will be obligatory on Catholic booksellers not to put on sale books condemned by the bishop. And while we are on this subject of booksellers, we wish the bishops to see to it that they do not, through a desire for gain, put on sale unsound books. It is certain that in the catalogues of some of them, the books of the modernists are not unfrequently announced with no small praise. If they refuse obedience, let the bishops have no hesitation and depriving them of the title of Catholic booksellers. So too, when with more reason, they have the title of Episcopal booksellers, and if they have that of Pontifical, let them be denounced to the Apostolic See. Finally, we remind all of the 16th article of the above-mentioned Constitution Officiorum, quote, all those who have obtained an apostolic faculty to read and keep forbidden books are not thereby authorized to read books and periodicals forbidden by the local ordinaries unless the apostolic faculty expressly concedes permission to read and keep books condemned by anybody. But it is not enough to hinder the reading and the sale of bad books. It is also necessary to prevent them from being printed. Hence, let the bishops use the utmost severity in granting permission to print. Under the rules of the Constitution Officiorum, many publications require the authorization of the ordinary, and in some dioceses it has been made the custom to have a suitable number of official censors for the examination of writings. We have the highest praise for this institution, and we not only exhort, but we all order that it be extended to all dioceses. In all episcopal curias, therefore, let censors be appointed for the revision of works intended for publication, and let the censors be chosen from both ranks of the clergy, secular and regular, men of age, knowledge, and prudence, who will know how to follow the golden mean in their judgments. It shall be their office to examine everything which requires permission for publication, according to Articles 41 and 42 of the above-mentioned Constitution. The censor shall give his verdict in writing. If it be favorable, the bishop will give the permission for publication by the word imprimatur, which must always be preceded by the nihil obstat in the name of the censor. In the Curia of Rome, official censors shall be appointed, just as elsewhere, and the appointment of them shall be appertained to the master of the sacred places, after they have proposed to the cardinal vicar, and accepted by the sovereign pontiff. It will also be the office of the master of the sacred palaces to select the censor for each writing. Permission for publication will be granted by him as well as by the cardinal vicar or his vice-regent, and this permission, as above prescribed, must always be preceded by the nihil obstat in the name of the censor. Only on very rare and exceptional occasions, and on the prudent decision of the bishop, shall it be possible to omit the mention of the censor. The name of the censor shall never be made known to the authors until he shall have given a favorable decision, so that he may not have to suffer annoyance either while he is engaged in the examination of a writing, or in case he should deny his approval. A censor shall never be chosen from the religious orders until the opinion of the provincial, or in Rome of general, has been privately obtained, and the provincial or the general must give a conscientious account of the character, knowledge, and orthodoxy of the candidate. We admonish religious superiors of their solemn duty never to allow anything to be published by any of their subjects without permission from themselves and from the ordinary. Finally, we affirm and declare that the title of censor has no value and can never be adduced to give credit to the private opinions of the person who holds it. Having said this much in general, we now ordain in particular more careful observance of Article 42 of the above-mentioned Constitution, ca officiorum. It is forbidden to secular priests, without the previous consent of the ordinary, to undertake the direction of the papers or periodicals. This permission shall be withdrawn from any priest who makes a wrong use of it after having been admonished. With regard to priests who are correspondents or collaborators of periodicals, as it happens not unfrequently that they write matter infected with modernism for their papers or periodicals, let the bishop see to it that this is not permitted to happen, and should they fail in this duty, let the bishops make due provision with authority delegated by the Supreme Pontiff. Let there be, as far as this is possible, a special censor for newspapers and periodicals written by Catholics. It shall be his office to read in due time each number after it has been published, and if you find anything dangerous in it, let him order that it be corrected. The bishop shall have the same right, even when the censor has seen nothing objectionable in a publication. Now, are you surprised there at the end of that Pius X was talking about stopping priests from being essentially journalists? Or, in a 21st century context, commentators, cultural commentators. What do you think about the implications of this for a bit? Because we all know that virtually every celebrity priest and bishop in the church today who has wide mainstream appeal, we're talking about the ones with the most mainstream appeal, the ones who get on network television on occasion, they've all been accused of being modernists to some degree. Pius X would have had all of them silenced, every single one of them, only able to speak if they'd gotten the express permission of the bishop. What kind of Catholic landscape would you see today, if that was the case? Did you notice not much was said about laity there, by the way? Yes, the laity would get caught up in the prohibitions on publishing bad books and the rest, requiring imprimaturs and all the rest of it when talking about Catholic things. But Pascendi has a through line in it. And this is why I always kind of laugh when I see that some modernist lay commentator out there tries to say it's traditionalists who are violating Pascendi, right? The through line in Pascendi is that laity with high access, we're talking these are the ones who work in the seminaries, who are the teachers in seminaries, as well as the priests and your bishops are the ones who are the problem. They're the main drivers of modernism. And that modernism is to be stomped out as quickly as it can. And to know where to stomp it out, you need to look mostly at the priests and the bishops. Weird how that works out. That's one of the through lines of Pascendi. Let me know what you thought of this in the comments. I'm curious what you think about this, especially given Catholics, especially American Catholics, and how we blanch at censorship, especially these days. Because if these prescriptions had actually been followed and followed thoroughly, it would have probably been successful in stomping out modernism. But the unfortunate reality is, after Pascendi and after the oath against modernism were promulgated afterwards, there were a few high-profile modernists who lost their priesthoods, some of them stripped down from being bishops. But the modernists after that went underground. They figured out how to identify each other, keep in contact with each other, but they went underground. And they started working quietly behind the scenes to change the nature of the hierarchy itself. That's how you go from 1907 with Pius X publishing the Oath Against Modernism and Pascendi to 1962 and the launch of Vatican II and all the more Catholic-sounding documents prepared by Cardinal Ottaviani and John XXIII being tossed out within the first day or two of the council and replaced by whole new documents. That's how that happens. But I'm curious what you think about this in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. So sharing this on social media, that helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.